Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Timberborn, where I've made a mess. Well, if you guys watched the last episode, you saw that I made quite the mess in trying to get the bridge to nowhere complete, or at least started. And, well, it looks like a bridge to nowhere. If you click that button right there, it's definitely a bridge to nowhere. Because there's nowhere it's going up top. And that's what I want to figure out today. That's what we're going to spend some time doing today. So, here in a few minutes, we're going to do a little speed up montage, and I'm going to somehow finagle this whole thing into something that actually works like a proper tower. So, pardon me while I try to get all of the things done in some semblance of some engineering masterpiece. I'll see if it happens. I have no idea if it will work or not. I'm hoping that it turns out nicely. So we'll see you here in a little bit, and you can enjoy the dulcet tones. I know how to speak English. Of future me, who's going to be going through this and trying to make something semi-decent out of all this wonderful footage. So, please do enjoy the speed up montage and some of the wonderful music of Timberborn goodness. And we'll catch you in a little bit. Alright. Be good, okay? Future me, treat them right. Well, welcome on in. This is future me doing future me things, trying to clean up the mess that past me made of this recording. So here we are, trying to do all of that, making some semblance out of whatever chaos that I created for myself. Of course, that means watching me destroy things unnecessarily and make things much more painful on myself than I absolutely need to. But hey, that's what we're here for. We're watching some goober attempt to try to make something decent out of whatever mess that he's created in the past. Yeah. So there's that. I apologize to no one. We're going to have to settle down and accept it. Can you stop shaking the camera? It's moving around so much. Just do something productive with your life. Oh my goodness. It's okay. Don't worry, guys. It's okay. It's not. I apologize to no one yet again for whatever it is that I'm doing right now. Of course, laying explosives, you know, that's always fun. You've got to love that. It goes by so quickly. I really wish that I had torn out that bridge that I'd already created there. There was no need for that to be there in this entire build. It was just in the way. This giant piece of gray metal floating in the sky that was not providing anything beneficial the entire time. I had basically paused the entire work on the system over there, and the fact that I hadn't gotten rid of the portion that was going to obscure my vision for the period that I was working on this entire area is kind of ridiculous to me. The fact that I didn't think to do something, you know, smart, like make things look pretty for you guys. So I apologize for that one. I will apologize for that one. That one's entirely on me. Okay. Of course, we've got to finagle all of the beavers around that we had previously occupied on the other side of the district. Which, it doesn't necessarily come to bite us in the butt now, but it slows things down later. Definitely run into an issue where we're running out of the metal blocks that are needed for the build and for future builds, honestly. The fact that I didn't actually plan out the construction of the mine earlier is ridiculous. Now, I'm not entirely sure why I did this explosion bit. I guess it's something to do with I just wanted a flat piece of real estate to work with, and it kind of makes sense, you know, so you're not playing with different levels of platforms and everything. And you're not trying to figure out how to gain access to all the things. I guess it makes sense. I don't know why I destroyed their access point to that, though. You took out the stairs that you're going to have to rebuild again, Goober. Come on now. Come on. Think before you act, okay? I know it's hard for you to do that sometimes, but jeez Louise. Of course, with everything that you do, you've got to fill in the holes that you created earlier because, well, you blew up all the ground that you were going to work on. Now we get to add additional work to all the things that you've done. Good job, me. Good job. To be fair, when I had initially put those towers in, I wasn't thinking about all that, but that's okay. Finally getting to the point where we can put in all of the rest of the hauling posts and building huts, builders' huts. That's always a good thing, you know, just to occupy all of the beavers that we've got sitting around doing nothing. They're just twiddling their thumbs. It's always a good idea. Now, this will scare me a little bit. Like, where are all my beavers at? It says I've got a cajillion jobs missing, and the answer is, yeah. Now, I will say that this is probably my favorite part of the build. Trying to remember my old Minecraft days, going back and like, okay, I'm gonna make a circle with a bunch of squares. How did I do that again? Now, I may have pulled up an old tutorial / a circle creation website. Okay, don't at me, guys. That's entirely entirely unnecessary. Entirely unnecessary. But hey, it looks good. It looks like a circle. Now to fill it in and make a huge circle that will be the greatest tower of power ever created in Timberborn. You know, this is awesome. You cannot deny that this is the coolest thing ever created. Well, until this part, where I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do at the top. And that's put all these caps on. The cap I'm not the happiest with because I didn't make it symmetrical. Mildly annoying that I didn't do anything to try to clean it up and make it worth anything. And I definitely could have made things a bit more clean. And there were some unnecessary builds or unnecessary pieces of platforms that I threw in that weren't required, and you'll see that again and again throughout this build. And of course, I didn't learn my lesson throughout all of that, and I just brute force it, right? Just make it work. That was basically the entirely only thing. That's not how English works, but the only thing that was going through my head at the time. Just make it work. Of course, that doesn't really lend to an efficient use of materials and an efficient or in a good looking build, but I guess in the end the cap isn't really seen anymore, so I can't complain. I can complain about one portion of the build. I'll point that out here in a minute. And that's actually the one thing that will irk me with this build for the rest of the time. Now, here's one shout out to Skystorm. This is actually one of the coolest things that I saw him do with update 6. This entire stairwell. This stairwell is freaking awesome. I'm very happy to have caught the short that he had put together. If you guys want, go check out Skystorm. Does awesome videos. Makes some pretty cool looking stuff. I could never, but when you see something good, you know, you got to try it out. And it works really well. It didn't take that much of material, and it definitely made access, or it gained us access to the top of the tower without too much consternation. Of course, that doesn't mean that the tower build went that much faster because I had access to the top. Of course, I made things much more painful for myself than absolutely necessary. Of course, the entire time I'm building this, I've also run out of planks and all that fun stuff, so there's that. Now, here's where things get a little wonky. I was trying to create a platform on top of the tower. The tower itself is pretty freaking awesome, right? I can't deny that fact. But I spent way too much time trying to figure out how to create a platform on top of the tower to expand it and make it look symmetrical. Manipulating it, or trying to manipulate the overhangs in a fashion that would make it seem like it was supposed to fit, or just try to round it out appropriately, and that's really not the easiest to do. Again, Skystorm did a pretty cool tower topper the other day. Not to this scale, but it turned out pretty cool, and I was trying to replicate that. It didn't work out nearly as well as I'd liked, so I sadly give up on said endeavor after realizing that you can't take a 15 unit wide tower, expand it into a 25 unit tower, and use the same dimensional or the same systems to make a circle work. That's not how that works. So I end up scrapping that entire idea and trying something different. Now, in the end, it kind of worked. So I can't complain too much. And here's where I'll make that transition here. Okay, it's not working. Get rid of it. Clean up all the mess. And let's go with this. Now, this portion, I definitely could have done a little bit cleaner. There are some overhang uses that weren't necessary, and that's one of the biggest irks that I have with this build. I didn't actually properly use the materials in a fashion that would have made sense. Here it is. Here's where I figured out, okay, well, if I want to fill this corner in, I need to do something like this, and that's the overhang that was unnecessary. I'm not the happiest with that. I wish I had just used like a 1x3 as opposed to a 6x1, and then tossed another 6x or 5x1 on top of that. That was unnecessary, but in the end, it works. You don't really see it at all. I tried to do something. I tried to make it work. Again, not realizing how things are supposed to do the things that you want it to do. Okay. It's a little unnecessary burn of materials, but I'm not... now I know for the future, right? That's all that matters. I'm learning, you're learning, we're learning. All the things are going in the proper direction, so I can't complain too much. Now, here's where I can complain a little bit. Why did I do this like this? This was an unnecessary use of material. Absolutely. Like, that gap could have been used for so many different things other than just filling it in with metal blocks, just to fill it in. But alas, that's what we're stuck with. Of course, I finally realized that we're running out of all the materials, or we're slowly eating into our materials that we're going to need for the build. I start looking at different avenues of approach. Of course, trying to get the build to go in the proper direction. That means gaining them access to all the areas. Ah, the joys of watching beavers build. It's so cathartic, one could say. Okay. And finally have our first couple of platforms in on top. Now, I'll fight for the next 6 to 9 hours trying to figure out how to make sure that they have access to actually build everything else. But alas, I don't do it smartly. But that's besides the point. Now, of course, you've got to do all the side projects while you're doing the major project, because that makes sense. Hey, let's tack on to our massive build by giving them even more things to build. Granted, this was one of those side projects that needed to get accomplished anyway, so I can't complain too much. I'd already invested a majority of the materials into the build, so might as well take advantage of it. Of course, I didn't do the smart thing and actually connect all these bridges appropriately, so it stalls out because, well, they can't reach anything. And of course, measure twice, cut 14 different times because you forget to actually put platforms at the right height. But that's besides the point. The thing got done. Sort of. For the most part. Now, in the future, I'd definitely like to get into putting more of these aqueducts around the entire map, because there are a bunch of irrigation pools that do exist that don't necessarily need to have beavers manning them 24/7 or even 14/7, right? That's a beaver that could be doing something else, like hauling stuff somewhere or building something or any number of different things. And that, of course, is going to require some time, some effort, and a lot of spaghetti aqueducts and a huge reservoir. I'm finding, because here at the end of the video, that aqueduct actually does get filled out, does get finished, but there's not enough water in the aqueduct to maintain the system for a prolonged period of time. Yeah, it looks cool during the temperate cycle, because it's the temperate cycle. It actually fills in. You get to see a little waterfall here and there when it actually realizes, oh, I can release some water into the systems and actually do something that I'm designed to do. But alas, it doesn't really work for the long term because there's not enough water in there to last a 29, 30-day drought, right? Here, of course, I'm staring off into space, wondering why nothing's getting accomplished. And that's because, again, I haven't given them proper access to all of the things. Yes, they can get on top of the platform, but they can't actually reach the rest of the infrastructure needed in order to build the rest of the system. Now, again, another shout out to Skystorm for this brilliant piece of tech. Well, if you can't reach it, build them a bridge. Now, if I remember correctly, they couldn't used to build off the sides of bridges. I think they changed that. I'm not entirely sure when they did that, but it's so nice that they can now. They can crawl on top of the bridge, build underneath, and build off to the sides. Now, that being said, I probably could have put those two bridges a little bit further apart. That's fine. It gets the job done, and that's all that matters in the end. They're temporary scaffolding, so I'm not going to complain about it. Now, here's where I realize I messed up. I'd let the build proceed way too fast, or way too far at this point to actually start tearing anything apart without losing a majority of the materials that I need to actually facilitate the build. And I couldn't put Recultivator on top. Like, that was the entire point of the tower, was to fit the cultivator, the recultivator, on top of the tower. I wanted this massive tower to exist just for that. Of course, it does fit. It's annoying, and which is why I spent some time sitting in the corner, and I wasn't being angry or anything. No, that would be ridiculous. But I had to think of another way to actually put the cultivator into the build. Now, in the end, I do find a pretty cool spot to put it in there, and it looks cool, or at least it will look cool, hopefully, in the future. It's still not complete yet as of the time of this future me recording of my edit overview. That's how the words work. That's fine. This is fine. And it was at this point that I definitely realized that metal production was hampering us. Yeah, we got a fair portion, but a fair portion of those metal blocks are stuck on the opposite side of this district crossing, and, well, there's also a huge mine sitting there with nothing happening in it, and I do have a preponderance of my bots sitting around potentially doing nothing because the build doesn't really allow for them to all be activated at any given time, right? There's only so many hard points for them to actually touch, so it makes sense to start building up that additional mine. And I was pleasantly surprised that I had the materials pretty much on hand over there to get that put together in a relatively quick fashion, so that's cool. And I had the bots to actually go over there and do something productive at the time instead of sitting on their thumbs. Which no one likes to see a beaver doing nothing, right? They've got to be doing something at all times. Otherwise, what are they doing? Playing in the carousel? Well, some of them are, but that's okay. They're allowed to. They're kits. Okay? They're kits. Don't make fun of the kids having a good time. Here's where I realized, oh, pathing helps. Tempered cycles. Finally greening everything back up again. Okay, yes, I may have just destroyed that very on that platform already that they just put back in, but that's fine. Everything's fine. Here's where I wish I had more of a tempered cycle. The 3-day cycles definitely aren't, or 6-day cycles definitely are not helpful at all. Especially when you're completely draining the entire reservoir for water the entire time. I think I was at 4,000 units of water saved up at that point because I had basically essentially drained the entire reservoir and we were drinking out of our reserves, which stinks. You gotta love fighting the temper or the district crossing. And thankfully, with my exorbitant amount of time playing this game, I've still not figured out how to exactly get this thing to work properly for me. It works in the end, though, so I can't complain too much. The scrap metal makes it through, and the appropriate materials to keep the Timberbots working also makes it through, so I can't complain too much. And you definitely can't complain about a good explosion in the morning. It makes everybody happy. Especially when those batteries turn from just 40-something thousand to 60,000 horsepower saved up. per battery. Yo, that's pretty Gucci. At this point, I realized I'm running out of chassis. And then I do nothing about it, I don't think, for another hour or something. Which is standard for me. Oh, I've got a problem? I'll just ignore it. Maybe it'll fix itself. I'm trying to, you know, I've got scrap metal moving. That means all the metal blocks will turn and then we can get chassis moving a little bit better. It doesn't. That's why I spend a portion of my time after all of this running Timberbots to all the scrap ruins throughout the rest of the map. Which does, in the end, help out with the scrap metal because it goes from the 40-something right now that we have to about 2,000 plus later on, which is really nice, you know, having 2,000 things of scrap metal running around. Now, of course, that's a stimulus. A little stim hit of the scrap metal. It's not going to solve all the problems. Of course, the mines only have so much production rate that they can actually accomplish because, well, the mines, they do 1.8 per hour with the amount of materials readily on hand, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. You just got to make do, and it's just a waiting game at that point. You wait for the materials to make their way through. And of course, we're out of lumber again. So that's always fun. And biofuel. Always the biofuel. Always fighting the biofuel issue. Watching this come together is pretty awesome, though. We've sat and watched this same cut about 5 times trying to make everything kind of work and be some semblance of coherent video for you guys, and just watching everything come together, even if slowly at this point because there's not much metal, there aren't many metal blocks going around. It's still really cool to see all the Timberbots and all the Bio Beavers coming up and building another portion of the platform, building another thing here, creating something from nothing, right? Getting to see the fruits of their labor and your planning, whatever that is. It's pretty cool. I can't deny that fact. So here's something I still need to actually test out. Someone commented that maybe one of the reasons why those gather flags or those scavenger flags have to be changed again to being Timberbots is because there wasn't actually a district connected to into them when you put them down, and when you change them from Beavers to Timberbots, it has to. It defaults to the district default, which is why that's happening. I don't know. That's something I have to test, and I repeat myself. Solving the biofuel crisis for the 14th time. Let's go. One more platform in. It's looking so good at this point. Could I have shoved a 3x3 in those corners to flesh it out a little bit more? Probably. Do I? No. That would make sense. Come on, scrap metal. We need you. We need the scrap metal. We've only got 100 and something metal blocks running around. We need more. The tower is not going to get complete without more. Come on. Something that I should have done when I was building this was actually placing the materials on top of the tower once there was enough space to put down some storage containers. That would have facilitated the build a little bit faster, maybe, potentially, having the haulers run all that stuff, which haulers can carry more than builders, allegedly. That definitely would have helped out a little bit, but alas, I did not. Thankfully, all of the materials were relatively close, so I can't complain too much. It got accomplished relatively quickly. Now I'm just fighting for lumber at this point. There's no lumber. I'm running out. 100 units of lumber is just not going to cut it. I need planks. I need logs. I need metal blocks to complete the rest of the build. And the fact that I'm sitting on now just at 200 for the entire colony. That's even the 100 something that's stuck behind the district crossing over there next to the power system. Doesn't help at all. Of course, I could have done smart things like put in additional foresters and additional fluid dumps to help make things go, because this entire build took about, I think, 4 cycles to get through, or maybe I think it was 3 cycles in total. That's enough time to have seen at least 3 whole fields of oaks populate, get torn down, replanted, grow again, get torn down again, and replanted. I think that's a lot of potential time, energy, and resources that could have been put into the bucket. Alas, I didn't think about doing smart things like that. I was just dead set on getting this entire thing done. Which is why we're going to stare at this for the next couple of minutes trying to get it done. Now, thankfully, with the majority of the build finally being completed, made sense to do something else. Why not? We've got this huge piece of real estate that's been reclaimed. It's no longer the Tower of Power. It's the Tower of... I don't know what we're going to name it. Leave a name down in the comments below if you guys would be so kind. What should we name the tower? But why not take advantage of this beautiful piece of real estate and put something cool in there? So, of course, start with some campfires, since that's the one thing that they don't seem to have access to enough of. And of course, I don't realize that I need to do smart things with all of the placement in here and allow myself some clearance for, you know, the next level. So they built all this stuff and I had to tear some of it out, but that's fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. But in the end, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. You got some campfires in there, some contemplation spots in there. And then I think I put in some detailers. Yep. Some nice detailers to fill out that back corner. And then on top of all that, put in some platforms so that we can get to the next level. Now, of course, I didn't think about platform placement here because I was goober, not thinking about, oh, I've already got the next platform's at 3 high and I want to put a floor on the next level. So, of course, I put 1x3s as opposed to 1x2s. That's okay. It's okay. I finally realized that I can do smart things and put the right height down in there. Of course, I'm juggling 14 different projects at the same time, so that means you get to come in here and finally put the final 2 pieces of the platform on, come down and realize, oh yeah, I can't have 3s here. Tear out, waste a portion of those materials that I'd already put in here just to put the right size ones in. It's okay. Everything's fine. I probably could have done this in a bit more of a reasonable fashion so as to not use so much in the way of metal blocks and various other materials, but it works. It's not symmetrical or perfectly symmetrical, but it filled the holes in and made things work, which is all we could hope for in the end. Hopefully all that gets hidden and you don't see how ugly that looks in the future, but that's for future me to figure out. Here we finally get to see the aqueduct work, which is cool. Really slow because I don't have enough water flowing through to actually build the aqueduct. I tried to change that by closing one side off, but of course that doesn't really help for the long haul because, well, it's only 1 tile deep, and 1 tile deep doesn't really last that long when you're talking 30-day droughts or 30-day bad tides. About at this point, I made the decision to try to do something ridiculous. Try to fix the tower, or at least the bridge to the tower. Knowing full well that I was completely and totally out of materials to actually facilitate the development and or the build of said bridge. So I'll spend some time waiting for all the materials to get developed, and then they're run out again and again and again. And that's where I finally made the decision, okay, we're going to pause X on that. We'll come back to this and do something semi-coherent. Hopefully. And I think I do make a pretty decent decision. It works out really well. I'm really happy with how well it turned out. You'll see that after this episode drops. Get to see the final product of half of the bridge, at least. That's already recorded. It's already ready to go. Well, it hasn't been edited yet, so you're just going to have to wait, because I have to wait to edit. I'm doing future me voiceover action. I will say the bridge looks really cool. Like really, really cool. It fits up to the tower like a glove. It adds to the aesthetics that much better. Like it's really awesome. And it took a long time to get all of the required materials in place to finish it, which is to be expected because that's a lot of materials per step, if you will. Now, the fencing, I'm not entirely sure if I'll keep all the fencing. I had this idea of like putting in various little towers throughout to make it look like there was some wires or something along those lines. I can't recall what the name of the structures are, but I kind of give up on that. That's because I have the attention span of goldfish, but that's besides the point. Hey guys, there's no need to come after me like that. It looks so cool. It looks so cool. And welcome back from that wonderful time lapse. I hope you enjoyed future me doing future me things and talked about all the things that I hopefully did that look semi coherent. Okay, we got a few little things that just don't seem to fit right. Maybe I could have done that a little bit better, a little bit cleaner in some of these overhangs and all that fun stuff. But I think that it looks decent for the most part. The tower's looking really good. The platform looks fantastic, and we have plenty of workspace down here to actually get into and do some wonderful things. So we can put in a bunch of different housing units in here or just entertainment things like we did on this base floor. I want to like repeat some more of this stuff up through the tower since we have the real estate to do so and take full advantage of one of this game's greatest things, right? Which is the fact that you can build up, right? You're not limited to two-dimensional space. You've got all three dimensions to play in. So the opportunities are boundless, and we've got so many layers to play with. So one, two, three, four, five, six, basically six layers to put in all the things that we wanted. So we could put in housing in here. We could put in more entertainment things instead of just on the outside like we have here. Plenty of opportunities for us to do all the fun things. The problem that I'm running into right now is just I've run out of metal blocks, and you'll see I probably have a break in the recording where I'm just staring off into nothing, waiting for all the materials. Because as you may have seen throughout the speed up montage, I started building or getting this monstrosity put in. So this is going in and doing the math. That's 120 metal blocks per line. And we've got a metric poop ton of stairs to get through. So it's going to take a hot minute for all of the material to make its way in. And we only have enough metal blocks on hand to actually produce enough for one line right now. So that's kind of the limiting factor for us. Running into an issue with our bots. I'm not producing enough of the chassis, which do require metal blocks. So if we click on this guy right here, yeah, this guy, metal blocks. They just aren't being able to produce them at the speed that I need them to. It takes 18 hours to produce one metal or one chassis, and these guys are burning through them pretty fast. I might have to slow down the production rate and probably turn down some of these building huts over here that don't necessarily need bot builders and swap over to just regular bio beavers to help facilitate the fact that, well, I'm running out of stuff. I'm running out of all the things. I'm not running out of juice, which is good. And haven't really quite caught up with all the catalyst requirements. Catalyst seems to be the limiting factor for a lot of what we're trying to do. And these bots are running out of fuel like no one's business. Now, it doesn't help that they're running quite literally across the world to get over here to put all of this in. So the majority of the problem here, but it's looking good. They are moving, they're grooving. This tower build took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it went in. It took a little finagling, a lot of building of just random platforms and random bridges to get things into position, but it turned out okay. I can't say I'm not happy with it. I am happy to see that this got finally put in. I don't know quite how I want to split this water here. I don't know how I can actually get that to work. I might just take this out and let that fill in all the way. I'm not sure how I want to do that quite yet. Like if there were a way to get the water to flow the way that I want it to flow, but can't quite do that right now. But yeah, that's where we're at. And I think I'll probably do some back stage grinding, if you will, to try to just build up the materials that we need in order to continue building the rest of this wonderful monstrosity that we have going here. And we could go play around with a few more things. And in the next episode, we'll get to actually dig into the tower here, build up some more of the entertainment areas, build in some of the food storage as well in here, because that's something we can definitely do. Have the food storage in the central area for all of the beavers. And then, yeah, we could start working towards putting Beavertopia in the sky, if you will. And having this established means we've got plenty of opportunity to build out and over and up and all of the fun things. We can keep putting platform or the little the overhangs on these corners and keep going out and out and out. The huge shadow this thing casts is massive, and I approve of this message. Like, that is so cool that we've got such a large shadow being cast by that beautiful tower that we've created. I'm so excited for that. That makes me really happy. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of me rambling about all the things that are happening in the background as I try to figure out how to do all the things. I hope you guys have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Enjoy yourselves and look forward to some more of the chaos, some more of the mega builds to come. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed whatever the heck it is that we do here. Have a fantastic day, friends. I'll catch you all in the next episode. I'm out. See ya.